Okay, we are live. Yes, we are. Okay, so got a couple people joining. I see people. I see Randy. Soko, sit. Good. Down. Stop playtime. Down. Good. Got these guys in place because we are working our new guy. What's up, Kate? How are you? 911. I see you guys. Melanie. Good morning. Good morning, Randy. We're working our new guy, one of our new guys, Casper. So if you guys have been following us on Instagram, on Facebook, which we're going to announce the winner later on today, most likely. Today's my day off, but we're a little short-staffed, so I'm in. If you've been following us on Instagram, you've been following us on Facebook, along with here on Periscope, you're familiar. What's up, Jackie? How are you? Lara, what's up? You've been following us and you're updated on Casper. For those of you that are just joining in, Casper is here for some extreme dog aggression. He's a little bit of a mess. He has extremely sensitive skin. He's very flaky. He's got anxiety. He was whiny and barky in the crate. We've kind of got that under control. He's doing much, much better there. His walking, he's absolute savage on the leash. What else are we looking at? He's broken his back in the past, so I think it was relatively recent that he just started to learn how to kind of walk on it. So lots of stuff there that are, I guess, troubling for a dog. But I'll show you what we have here. We have Soko in place. We also have a ball over there. So Soko's actually not in place. I'm sorry. He's in a down. We're going to be working this guy here. And when I want to cover on, or when I want to cover, yeah, that's most of the dogs that come into our facility. But yeah, for sure, laundry list. Well, yeah, I mean, if you can imagine him barking in the crate, that's probably exactly what you think it's like. It's a dog barking in the crate, anxiously. Samson's over there in place. What we're going to be focusing on is the concept of, let me actually swap this around really quickly, is teaching the dog the staying portion of place. Now, there's actually a difference in the sending and the staying. Down the line, you can kind of mix and match, but earlier on, it makes sense to kind of keep the session to one. So I'm going to try and set this up here. Give me a quick second. Watch out, bud. That doesn't look too shabby there. Okay. So what we're doing with this guy, here's something that's important. We've spent a session or two, and I'll do this really, really quick, where we already have him on a remote and luring. Soko! Here. Sit. Down. The reason I want him doing this is eventually, come on bud, eventually I'm going to have him playing, probably not in this session, but I need a dog like Casper to be okay with seeing dogs. First in distance on place, then right in front of him while I have you focus on me, right? And now he knows the ball is there, so that's a challenge because he wants to go into little attack mode. So what I was getting toward is in the beginning, we focus on breaking place down. And really what place becomes is, you can see him like really kind of like zoning in there. Come on, let's go. And he was like fine until that movement, so he's not quite there yet. But when we first send the dog on there, we want to really focus on just sending them in place, getting on this thing, and then guessing the dog, right? And while that's not perfect, we've done a session or two, but what I want to focus on really with him is kind of the staying portion, which goes into a little bit of like inhibiting behavior, which is going to be very important with him, for him, once we start working him around other dogs, or we're asking for him to have a little bit more responsibility, where I say, I need you to hold this place because I'm going to work this dog, right? And he's not quite there yet. So, especially when we're doing remote stuff, if we're spending time showing you that I'm not going to press the button now, pressure means going on here, and then once you're on here, I'm going to go ahead and get you off. It can be really confusing when you're using pressure to walk toward a dog and also with a remote to get them to stay on. So today what we're going to be doing is we're just going to send him on. Place him. Good. We've been working on sits outside of that. Good, give him a little bit of food. And for us, this is important. Take a, nope. And there's a button and there's a little bit of leash there that kind of goes into that. Take a couple steps back. Good. And just teaching him, there's a reason why I'm saying good and walking to you and giving you food. It's not for no reason. There's definitely good. Something that I'm doing here that's allowing you to get food. When he starts doing really, really good with this, good. What we need him to understand is what he's waiting for. He's waiting for his reward marker, which is his yes, is why yes. If you guys are new to our periscopes, we use 3 markers, good, yes, and nope. And we explained it. I'm not going to get into that right now. Right now we're going to get right back on that place. Place. Sit. Good. Good. Eventually I want him holding this. Eventually I'll teach him a down off of the placemat. Get that really good. Then I'll go back to sending the dog on place. And when I'm sending that dog on place, if the down is really good, then I'll send him on there and I'll down him on there. What we did was we worked on his sit. His sit was horrible because of his back legs. We worked on it, put it on hold, worked on the sending portion of place, got that really good, came back to the sits, and then when we went into place again, we placed him and then we sat him. And he was like, oh, I know that. So we start piecing the puzzles together. He's going to start seeing movement. Good. And then what I'm going to do is finally, for him chilling out around other dogs, yes, good job. And we're purposely going to go really close to this dog here, right? Now we're going to go right back on, place. Good. And then you're going to see a little Apollo Creed footwork from me. Look at those moves. Nope. Good. Very good. So that's new. I'll feed because it's new. He's doing it for the first time really. Once that's known, I won't have a dog make a mistake and then me say good and feed for a mistake. Once he knows it, you know it. But because he's doing it for the first time, he was going to do it, and he decided to choose to say it, you better believe I'm going to reward the heck out of that, right? Good. Good boy. Good job. So good. Now, a couple things. One, you guys better be hardened. 2, I'm going to get in a little bit more depth in a little bit on why this is important and what we're looking for. But then the real important thing is the why yes, right? Yes. Really teaching him that there's something that you're waiting for to get off. You don't just do it on your own. You're not responsible enough. It's almost like an itinerary. There's an itinerary. There's a schedule of how things work when we're here. When we wake up, we do this. When we go to bed, we do this. When we come here, we do this. So you have to listen to what we're doing today. Because you never know what it's going to be. When you're assuming and doing your own thing, you're a wild child, you're aggressive, you're getting into trouble. Right? Good. Good. I'll even practice petting this guy, or maybe even feeding this guy something. Good. Nope. I'll come over here opposite. Good. Because the distraction of the ball that I just threw was over there. I don't want to get in between the ball. I want to make his second choice, which is me, easier. He can choose this, or he can choose his other choice, which is over here. If both choices are over here, it's very difficult for him. Now I'm going to explain the concept of, or the reasoning, why we continue to kind of yes this guy. Yes! Good job. So imagine you're playing Mario Brothers for Nintendo. I would imagine that everybody's played Mario Brothers, right? And Mario Brothers is a game that goes from left to right. But actually, I'll get closer for this so I can make sure that you guys really, really hear me. We're about to finish them up real quick. Place. So tomorrow I'll probably just work on the sending portion, and I'll keep it just to that. And then yes him, and then send, and then yes. Today I really wanted to work on a bit of his impulse control, because I wanted to start being able to hang out around dogs during his off time. Even though I know it's going to be challenging, I wanted to learn how to do that so we can crate him less, and we can have him have the responsibility of hanging while we work on the dogs, which is part of his rehab program, so he can learn to kind of tolerate it. Good. So, we're going to get into detail here in just a second. I'm almost done with this food. Good. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab that. So the one bad thing about working so much with food the way that we do, your hands get super, super slobbery. Nope! So I wasn't ready for that. Thanks. Back on there. Good. And I'm a little forgiving with that leg there, because obviously that's, his back legs are bad, but dogs don't really generalize so well, so the fact that I went this way, it was like, oh, I think you're gonna YES me. So I'm gonna kind of bring my stuff over here and get going here. Okay, so nope! If he's gonna lay down, beautiful. You guys are seeing this in the works right now. This is an awesome, awesome thing on his own. I'm eventually gonna teach him down. Even though a dog knows down, he doesn't know down on command. We're gonna eventually start showing him, yeah man, you can absolutely relax on these things up here. In fact, that's what dogs do up here. You don't have to stress when you see other things going on. So, good job, buddy. So I'm gonna make sure that he kind of hangs out on there. His brain is a bit tired from all that exercise and having to focus. Nope. So we're gonna keep him on there. It's gonna be important, but good boy, so good. I'm going to explain the reasoning for why I have the markers and the difference between good and yes and what you're trying to teach. When you're working on duration, eventually you want a dog to be able to hold place for a long time, duration for a long time. The dog that can do that is a dog that you can go outside with to an outdoor cafe. He's not going to pester the server. He's not going to pester you for food. He's not going to pester this, that, everything, right? What we're going to do is we want to push that duration. But in the early stages, if a dog doesn't know the benefit of waiting or what they're waiting for, it's really easy for them to get anxious and pushy and whiny and just say, you know what, I'm sick of this. So we call that, hey, what's up? How are you? We call that, I had no idea that was your name, Shar, but I see the name there. I see the meatball face there. You have no idea what you're waiting for. So the video game, for example, Mario Brothers. Everyone's played Mario Brothers for Nintendo, right? We know that we get to this level, the level's really fun. When we get toward the end, you jump on that flagpole, and then you get the points that rack up, and you never really get anything. There's nothing for it, but you're super excited. You're like, yes, I beat the level, all the coins, I get the reward. What ends up happening is you're motivated and you're excited and eager to move on and continue to play. Because you just beat that level. You were successful. You did it. You got rewarded for it. Yes. Now what are we going to do? Imagine Mario without those level, what do you want to call it, like increments or those breaks. What happens, or what would happen, is you guys would play, and with today's attention span, where we can hardly sit through a 15-second like Instagram video, what would happen is we would get maybe 25% of the way through the game, and we'd be like, all right, the game's fun, I get it, but like, what is this? Just keep going forever? This is boring. The fact that you had those little breaks, those little increments, allowed you to continue for the rest of the game and probably even have a good shot at beating the game in one whole sitting. You know what I mean? So what we're doing with him is we're doing the same thing. We're good feed. He's like, wait, how long am I waiting on this thing for? And then he gets his YES and he's like, oh, flagpole. He jumps on. Let's do this again. I'm excited to see what's longer. How long am I going to wait? How's this going to work? And that's basically like the concept. Eventually, we push everything. The levels get longer. The levels get a little bit more complex. And things start to really, really, what's the word I'm looking for? The wheels start to really turn and we start to get a snowball effect in a nice way, right? So that's very important. But in the early stages, it can be confusing for a dog when you're trying to send them to place and then you're asking them to hold. So we do one or the other. And then eventually what you do is when you've been successful in teaching your dog how to send to place and your dog knows how to go there, you've been successful in teaching your dog low level or early level impulse control stuff. What you then begin to do is you give your dog less information. So instead of bringing your dog to place and downing them, you just bring your dog to place, and he might be standing up or he might be sitting, which puts him in a position where he's going to have an earlier breaking point. So a breaking point is when you're sitting and you're waiting. At some point, sitting is going to get old. You're going to say, all right, I've been sitting here, but I don't want to sit anymore. When you reach that point, when you want to break from the sit, what's the choice that you're going to make? Are you going to just break off of place? For me, I'll give you the information, nope, wrong, try again. Or you're going to go, well, I know I can't break, but sitting's getting old. Let me just make myself comfortable. Let me make the choice to settle and lay down on my own. That's a beautiful thing. It's one thing to tell the dog, do this, do this, do this. When you start to see the dog doing that, that's the step that we start, or that's the point where we start to step back, and now we're allowing the dog to kind of do more because he understands the rules. Hey, I said place, you got to stay on there. What you're doing on there, I don't care as long as you're not anxious, but if you want to start to relax, beautiful. So telling the dog, drilling the dog, placing down, early stages, absolutely fantastic. But then when you get to the point you say place and you don't give the dog the rest of the information. You take the training wheels off and they have to do it on their own, and then they make the right choice. It's because you set that dog up for success. So that's why we kind of break those things down, and that's really important. And that also, especially for K dogs, for you with Echo and stuff, that's what starts to access the brain where you start to see a dog begin to settle mentally, begin to turn off mentally. A lot of dogs can physically hold a position, but their brain is still on. So their brain, even though while the body is not sitting, their brain, or while the body is sitting or laying down, their brain is not. Their brain is running, right? And that's when you see the struggle. Sometimes you see shaking. Sometimes you see panting. Eventually it's, I'm just chilling. And you begin to... He's still struggling a little. He's gone into whining, but it looks like he's about to fall asleep. He's learning how to settle. This dog, my dog, well, he's about to pass out. Samson's not tired, but you can see he's chilling. He's not like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. He's chilling on a hammock. Easiest job ever, right? So this is our feeding session. I'm going to go ahead and work Bella in a little bit, but just wanted to kind of explain the difference and why you really start to work on like the early stages of like the staying portion of place, but sometimes separated from the sending portion, which the sending can be very quick. Go on there. It's almost like a touch command. Go on there, get your reward. Go on there, get your reward. Go on there, get your reward. So the easiest way to explain it is with our markers. The yes tends to build speed and enthusiasm. The good tends to slow down and create duration. And there's a time and place for both, and you want to do a good job of introducing those at the right time, and that's pretty much what we have going on. So you can see much less anxious, learning how to chill, not attached to me, a little bit of a tail wag. Things are starting to click for him a little bit. So he's starting to be able to look at these guys and not fixate on these guys. So really good thing. We're going to end this session short so he can be successful. He's doing great. I'm going to call him off of there, and we're going to bring him downstairs so he can be like, but I was just starting to get comfortable with that, because we want to end it where he wants to do more of it. He wants to be included more. No, man, I would have did that for a while. I really, really like that before he goes, this is old. I'm bored of this, right? So, Linda, great question. You stop treating, well, we only work for this behavior during feeding time, where we do repetitions. Throughout the rest of life, if I tell you to do something, just do it, because I might do something else. You don't want to do that. We might bring you downstairs, but the thing is, I'm not going to bring you downstairs and crate you if you never had a shot at actually doing what I would have hoped that you would have done, because we practice it all the time. You see what I mean? So the only time I'm really working a dog for food, for the most part, is like during feeding time. After that, it's like, this is life, man. Get used to kind of doing this. And some rare exceptions, like with Willie, like during play, I'm using his food and feeding time to call him off a play for a little bit of food and then kind of jump back into things. But even then, usually, because he's so food motivated, I feed him first prior, and then maybe I'll have a little extra food on me like down the road just to kind of work repetitions of in the middle of play I can call you off. But for the most part, once I teach the behavior, this is known, man. Just go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? We don't get rewarded when we stop at a traffic light and when the light turns green, we decide to go. Like an officer doesn't pull us over and say, I just want to let you know, I appreciate that you did a great job for stopping at the light when it was red and then going at the light when it was green. Thank you, I'm not writing you a ticket, have a good day. In fact, that'd probably piss you off, right? The reward is the reward of life. You're getting to where you need to go safely. You're not getting hurt. And no one's kind of hurting you, no one's being reckless. So there's rewards of life that eventually become better, you know what I mean? Like my parents didn't necessarily reward me for doing my homework, maybe in the early stages to build good habits, but then eventually it was like, do your homework. You don't want to do your homework, there's going to be consequences from us, and if we don't give you those consequences, if we don't correct it, you're going to get corrected from school because you're not going to pass and you're going to get left back. So the reward is moving on to getting good grades and moving on to the next grade, right? So that's a reward. I'm not getting fed with $100 every single time I do my homework, because then I can easily become a spoiled brat, right? So to teach the good behaviors is one thing. Eventually, it's like, hey, this is life. You know, there's a reward for it. I don't get $100 to wake up early and go to the gym. My reward is I start seeing results in my physical, my body. You know what I mean? So the need for the motivation, come on, you can do it. It's just, you know what your motivation is. You inspire yourself, right? So, I mean, I think you guys get the gist. I got to go ahead and work Bella. Andrew has a couple dogs on the treadmill. She's going to be due for food, and we're probably going to do the same thing, just start working her around Soko and Samson. And then we'll do the same thing with Willie, a little bit of recall off of play, some socialization with Rasta, Lola. Willie will start getting Doc and Jake into the mix of socializing with other dogs, but just hanging out around each other. And then once we know that, like, I start to see Jake appropriately socializing with other dogs, and taking direction from me and maybe getting corrected from someone else, and then Doc is doing the same thing when they're doing really well, and I'm like, oh, you guys are good, then I'll start allowing them to do more than just hang out with one another. So every board and train has their own plan, even though we're teaching them the same things in like different pieces in different ways. And that's what our schedule's looking like today. All right, guys, later. Thanks for watching.